This is the Collaboration Dynamics Podcast, helping you work together better with Judy Reese, X-Ray listener, best-selling author, international virtual collaboration trainer, and master of metaphor. Hear more at xraylistening.com.
Hello and welcome to Collaboration Dynamics. Judy Reese here. Today I've got with me Sohail Khan, and he's got a fascinating story around collaboration, so I'm delighted to be interviewing him tonight. Go ahead, Sohail.
Oh, thank you, Judy. Thank you, first of all, for having me. And yes, collaboration, it's one of the things that I live by, and it's I'd say one of the main secrets of my success. Just a brief background to myself, if nobody's ever heard of me, but hopefully you have. I'm known as the joint venture expert. That's what I do. I bring people together to form teams to leverage what they have in terms of existing resources, or collaborate with other businesses and individuals to monetize and leverage each other's resources. And then obviously, as a joint venture expert, broker, deal maker, I make my living from the monetization of those collaborations, and I take a percentage. But going back to my story and how I became the joint venture expert, and just quickly, I normally spend about an hour talking about it when I'm on stage, but I'll do the quick sort of elevator version. So I built a very successful online corporate training company, actually in the UK, to 8 figures. Using collaboration, using partnerships, teaming up with companies that had my core customer demographics and getting them to do all the marketing and advertising. We didn't spend a penny on advertising and marketing. They had an existing marketing channel to their customer base, and they just basically promoted our courses to their customers. And that's how we quickly built this business that we had up to 8 figures very, very quickly. Using other companies and collaborating with other companies. So I built that company up to 8 figures, and then in 2006 sold a majority stake to 100 million IT group based here in the UK. And then in 2008 the company went bust. The group company went bust, who owned a majority stake in my business, and when they went bust, my company went down with it as well. So I went from being like a multi-millionaire, basically living in Hertfordshire in a 12-bedroom Georgian mansion, having all the trappings of success. I had a Ferrari, a Bentley, Porsche, and I was at the height of my success in 2006. 2008, the recession hit. The group company that had been around for 22 years went bust, took my company down with it. Banks came after me. I'd signed guarantees with the bank, and that was basically the downfall. And then ended up liquefying all my assets, paying the bank, negotiating with the bank to save myself from going bankrupt. And then that was 2008, and I went from being a multi-millionaire to totally broke. And then in 2009, I set myself a challenge to get back on my feet. And basically, I set myself a challenge to make £1 million in 12 months, because I had done collaborations in the past and built a company from literally zero to 8 figures to 10 million plus through collaboration. So I thought to myself, you know what? I've done it before. I'm sure I can do it again. Set myself a challenge to do 5 or 6 big collaboration projects in 2009, but I ended up making just over £1 million from one collaboration project I did with a publishing company that had over 4.2 million customers, and that deal that I did, that collaboration deal, ended up netting me just over £1 million. So that's my story, really, in terms of where I started, where I've come from, and what I do now. And nowadays, I'm more of a consultant, going into mostly Fortune 500 companies, which most of my clients now are US based. And And I just go in and do a lot of consulting and training for heads of strategic partnership, and go into their divisions, see how their teams are collaborating with strategic partners, help them tweak their platform, and also deliver some training at the same time. And I'm still involved in training brokers and deal makers around the world. Something I still do, and I've been doing for the last 5 years now. And I've got brokers, joint venture brokers, deal makers trained in Middle East, in Europe, in the US, UK, and some in Australia as well. So that's pretty much a brief background to how I got into collaboration, and why I think for me it's just the number one thing that I've always been doing and will always do in terms of business wise.
Mm-hmm. So what is the number one thing that you've been doing and will always do? Collaboration. When you are collaborating at your best, you are like what?
I think with myself, I'm very good. I have a very good sixth sense of an intuition in terms of relationship building. I think one of my key strengths is really, really seeking out great collaboration partners and understanding the dynamics of collaboration at a high level. And I get to go into companies and see things that people at even high levels don't. So I think there's a lot to do with my background. I think there's a lot to do with making lots of money, losing lots of money, and then coming back on my feet, going through the trenches, going through those dips, and learning a lot from that experience, which has really, I think, enhanced my peripheral vision when it comes to looking at collaboration at a different angle.
Mm-hmm. So it's enhanced your peripheral vision and looking at collaboration from a different angle, and that's developed your intuition in relationship building.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main core strengths of collaboration. I mean, if you're going to be putting teams together or working with teams, and I even get involved in managing collaborations for companies, which I also get paid for, you need to be able to sort of see things that other people don't, to be honest with you. And that is really what what I get paid for.
Mm-hmm. So just to put attention on that specific skill, when you see things that other people don't, and it's enhanced your peripheral vision, whereabouts are the things that you see?
It's interesting. I mean, I may pick up anything. For example, I spend a lot of time doing a lot of research on finding new collaboration partners for clients. So I tend to be able to pick up things where most people don't, or think about areas that most people would never go into, or industries or verticals that most people wouldn't think of going into. And I have the ability to make connections in those verticals at a high level with decision makers.
So just before you think of going somewhere that other people wouldn't, what's going on for you?
When you say what's going on for me, do you mean
where's your attention?
Okay, my attention really is mostly on the job at hand. I mean, when I do my research, when I go looking at collaboration partners, for example, one thing I really, really enjoy is deep diving into case studies and looking at case studies that have been successful for different industries, and then I go into different industries altogether compared to the industry that my client's in, to find collaboration partners where most people would never do that. They would just stick to one industry and find the collaboration partners within the same industry.
Mm-hmm. So you're noticing how the case study could be similar to the new situation.
Correct, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what I've found is why reinvent the wheel? If there is a successful formula that's being used in one industry, there's no reason why you can't take that same successful formula and apply it in another industry.
Mm-hmm. And what's the relationship between that and peripheral vision?
I think the peripheral vision is a lot about having that 360-degree angle in terms of spotting those opportunities. Now, when I talk to individuals like clients, for example, or even when I'm at meetings with other high level executives, they will spot certain opportunities, but I'll see more opportunities from one area than that next individual would. So I'll be able to make a list of more opportunities and ideas because my peripheral has expanded, and now I see from a full 360-degree angle. And I do that even when I'm out, even when I'm walking around anywhere, I see opportunities, and you do that once you have that sort of collaboration mindset.
Mm-hmm. So even when you're just walking around, you see collaboration opportunities, and you've got 360-degree angle of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's crazy because I carry my notepad with me all the time, so I'm always making notes, and I see things, I see opportunities. Like a lot of things that I do are taking a product, for example, into another vertical, or finding new distribution channels for clients' products, or vice versa, finding new products for clients who already have distribution channels, and then just creating collaboration projects around them, which is basically what I call joint ventures.
Mm-hmm. So what lets you know? So when you're walking around and you notice opportunities, what is it that lets you know there's an opportunity?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it's to do with my own experience as well, and also attending a lot of I wouldn't say networking events, but attending a lot of conferences where I have conversations with people about what they're currently doing and how their business mechanism works internally. So I am able to straight away from that sort of pick up ideas and see matches where one company, for example, may have a product that be suited to a collaboration with another company that may have a list of customers. So that's pretty much, I'd say mostly definitely down to experience.
So in terms of the metaphor that you just used, you see matches.
Yes, I see. I literally can put people together by saying that business will go well with that business, or that product that I've seen. I could find a suitable collaboration partner for you who would help you market and service that product.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything else about those matches? I mean, what kind of, if we were to explore the metaphor, what kind of matches?
Okay, so
those matches be?
Sure.
In terms of your process, not so much about examples, but what's happening for you?
Okay, yeah,
when
sure.
you see matches.
Okay, so for me, when I see them, it just creates a dynamic in the back of my head, basically in my brain, and my brain goes into overdrive, and then I can sort of picture what goes with what. So, for example, I'll give you a classic example of a joint venture. When I talk to people about what a joint venture is, it's basically a mutual agreement between two or more parties who share complementary resources. So the example I give in terms of joint ventures and collaborations on that level is, let's say you have a bathroom tile manufacturer and you have a bathroom suite manufacturer. Both companies can collaborate together, but the problem is they see each other as competitors. Mm-hmm. But then someone like me, who's a deal maker and a joint venture broker, can go in as a third party on the outside and actually put these two companies together because they share the same complementary resources, which is the customers. They have the same customer base that would buy both products. Mm-hmm. So that's how I would be, putting together a match between those two sort of companies in that same vertical.
Mm-hmm. So there's an interesting distinction there between they see each other as competitors, you see them as a match.
Yes.
And at that point, your brain goes into overdrive and you can picture what goes with what.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's like people getting up in the middle of the night to jot down on a notepad an idea that they've had. I get it 24/7 because this is what I live and breathe, basically. I always say to people, you'll never see me do anything else. If you type in the joint venture expert into Google, mm-hmm. you'll probably see me, dominate the first few pages. Or if you type my name in and then joint venture, that's all I do. It's the only thing I'm known for, and the only thing I really get paid for. So.
Mm-hmm. And so that ability to see the matches and then put the people together. when there is a good match, that's like what?
That's interesting. That's like, that's like I'll tell you what, it's the old adage when you're a kid and you're a baby and you're playing with that little toy with a hammer, and then you've got to put a square into the square hole, but the square won't fit in the round hole. So what happens is when you find these two matches and these two partners, it's a perfect fit. And what it does, it creates at the same time, it just creates a buzz, to be honest with you, for me, because now I have these two companies collaborating who would have looked at each other previously and thought they would never be able to do any sort of collaboration together, and I'm basically the person responsible for putting them together and making a success, and also making the money at the same time.
So what happens in between? So you can see that they're a match and a perfect fit. They see each other as competitors. What happens in between you noticing the match and them actually coming together in a joint venture?
Sure. It comes down to a lot of intervention from myself. Once I see them as a match, if one of them is my client, then I proceed by sort of creating the joint venture deal, as to speak, in terms of what is it that must be done, or what business activity must be done between these two partners, or this collaboration, for it to be a success, both monetary and as a joint venture deal.
And what needs to happen? I mean, what happens to the way they see each other?
I think it changes. I think a lot of this is to do with education as well. I provide them with some series of, let's say, for example, it could be literature, it could be conversations over a conference call, but I do give them all, a couple of videos of me speaking on stage, for example, just to see some examples and case studies of what I've done and what is possible with joint ventures, and that's sort of like when they see that, coupled with my story of how I built a very successful company, using collaborations, does really, really help. It's just a reinforcement, really, isn't it? So.
And I'm afraid this is. I'm just really curious. So I want to ask this question.
Sure.
You mentioned that you're seeing these matches even when you're out walking and all the time, 24 hours a day. What happens if you see a match and one party isn't your client?
That's interesting. What I normally do is, that's a really interesting question. It really depends where I am in terms of if I have the time, or if it's something that I think would be an interesting project for my brokers. I have a team of 50 brokers I've trained around the world. So if it's a match I see that isn't a client, if it's something that I think my brokers may be interested in working with, or we could help them, then I definitely would approach them and have a conversation. But most of the times when I see something really interesting, I do take the details down, and then we have a conversation. I say, look, I have a team of brokers and around the world, and they may be interested in taking you on as a client or as a project, and helping you create some more collaborations.
So when you do this peripheral vision thing and you see the matches and you put them together, and then there's that thing about like the square and the round peg, and they just fit, there's a perfect fit like that. And then what happens to you? You mentioned there's a buzz.
Yeah, for me it's just a buzz. I mean, it's just, you know what it is? It's because I really enjoy doing what I do, and I also use them as case studies. So, any interesting projects I'm involved in or collaborations, it's really for me just creating more proof, really, and more, how should I put it? Just creating more sort of information for people who find me on Google, or another talking point I can have with clients. I mean, one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm working with a lot of very, very big companies in different industries and different verticals just to basically get in and get some experience. So I'm doing some really short-term consulting. When I mean short-term, I mean 1 and 2 day consulting. So I charge basically 30K for a day, or if they have me for 2 days, it's 50K. But these companies are big companies. You're talking, my last client that I picked up was a $50 million turnover company. So these are big companies, US based, that can afford that. It's nothing to them. And I do that because I want the experience of seeing into different industries and how they operate when it comes to collaborations and joint ventures.
Mm-hmm. And it's that seeing into that gives you the buzz.
Yes.
Oh, I've got to ask, when that buzz, whereabouts is that buzz in you?
I don't know. I think it's just something that excites me. That I have. For example, recently I picked up 2 clients, and they're both celebrity clients. Basically, one's being featured on a reality show on TV, and one's based in Los Angeles. So for me, it's just I'm always pushing myself to the limits that I can take myself successfully. So I'm always moving the bar, not even setting the bar. I'm always moving it. So I'm always progressing onwards to do bigger and better things. So I think that's what really, really drives me.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed for telling us all about that. It's brilliant stuff. If people want to contact you, apart from just going joint ventures into Google, if people want to contact you, how do they go about it?
Okay, so there's a few ways you can contact me. One is if you want to find out more about, and something I forgot to mention was I have a best-selling book called Guerrilla Marketing and Joint Ventures, which is the #1 international bestseller. And that's really the best place to start. So if you go to milliondollarpartnering.com, you can see more information about me, what I do, my programs. You can get a copy of my book there as well. And if you're interested in any of my programs, I have a program that I do training joint venture brokers and deal makers around the world. That's jvconsultingbusiness.com. So that's it. Those are 2 of the best places to go. And if you want to add me on Facebook, it's facebook.com/the JV guy. And you can always also find me on LinkedIn also.